Hello, I am here to ask you people a question. Have you ever heard of Insanity Clicker? If not, well, it's your typical clicker game, well, at least it seems like it, but it has a horror element. And, what's even weirder, a levels element, as you can see at the very top of the screen. Now, what do these levels signify? Well, these levels signify how hard each level gets. The higher the level, the more harder it becomes to defeat your foes. Now, as you see, whenever these enemies, quote-unquote enemies, die, they drop teeth. Well, it's not like Cookie Clicker where every time you click, it gives you a certain amount of cookies, but in this game, you have to kill the monster first to receive your reward. As you see down here, where my cursor is, very bottom of the screen, it has a life bar that is slowly diminishing because on the side you have what are called minions. Now these minions can be leveled up and can have their level increased for a price. And I'm fairly into this game. I'm on level 63 currently, but there are so many different types of creatures, and I know that I haven't even hit the surface yet, I believe, because so far there's so many, and they actually all have really interesting designs, things that you never really suspect. Speaking of designs, the enemies are also very well designed, very beautiful. The backgrounds are grimy, dirty, creepy, and so are the enemies. But also on the side here, you have these little power-ups that you can use whenever they become available. Now, how do you unlock said awards? Well, these rewards are unlocked when you get certain skills for your pets, as they're called. These are called your pets, your little workers, your minions that help you kill said enemies. Now, when it comes to these pets, I use the term pets lightly, you have to go and you can level them up, but some have not many skills. Some only have a few, while some are completely maxed out, like the bats for example. But the further you go up in level, the more you can find, and the more you unlock with, by leveling up to the certain level that they need to be. You can then upgrade your damage per second, or DPS score. Now, what's so important about DPS? Well, DPS is needed mostly for bosses. And whenever these bosses come around, for example, like this is an example of a boss, at the bottom there's a little timer. And if you do not kill the specified boss within the time limit, like I am not, I am failing miserably. But let's just show you what happens when the timer runs out. As you keep on clicking, you can damage the boss. And you see this little fly here. If you attack it, whenever it randomly appears, it gives you a damage boost. Or, depending on what you get, it could also give you a lot of teeth. This is currently Broken Jaw. Every time you attack the enemy, it drops a lot of teeth, which is actually a good incentive, because the more you click and the faster, the more teeth you will gain. Now, here's a question that many people may have. Well, where do you find this game? You can actually simply find it on Steam. And, which is even a better added bonus, is that it's a completely free game. Yes, it is free. And to me, I actually like that, because whenever I find a clicker game and it's like for $5, I don't really see that it's worth it. I don't know, it's just, whenever you have to pay for a game like this, it just seems a little odd. Now, this is what you see. Alright, so, you see this little briefcase here. If you click it, it pops out teeth. And it usually gives you a lot of teeth. Like, for each tooth that I grabbed, I got 12 point something billion dollars. Not dollars, but teeth, whatever. And those don't appear a lot, but when they do, it really helps. And I'm gonna see if I can't do this, but whenever you attack the enemy, if you ever see red, that means you did a critical hit on them. The more criticals, the faster the enemy dies. And I'm going to show you an example of these power-ups. Here's Flurry of Blows. It attacks it for you, and as you can see at the bottom, the health is draining quite fast. And now on to the next one. I will show you an example of Titan Strength. It basically upgrades your damage by 100 for 30 seconds while you attack. Now for the next one. For the next one that I've unlocked is called Weak Spot. It increases your critical click chance by 50% while attacking, which does massive damage, as you can see below. Now, tips for these type of things: don't ever really use them on regular monsters, seeing as they can die easily if you just get enough teeth to upgrade your minions with, you know, for them basically to kill them for you. Then once you get a pretty fast amount of their deaths, like the faster they die, the easier it will be to kill the upcoming boss. But when do bosses arrive? Well, bosses arrive every 5th level. So, for example, the first mission of Morticiary, whatever, I cannot speak tonight, the Morgue. Then the second level, then there's a third, fourth, and after the 4th level, the 5th level is the boss. But the bosses can be farmed, because there's an infinite amount of said boss. And that's actually a really great way to get a lot of teeth. So I'm going to go over here to this boss, and I can't even beat this one yet, because I'm actually not even prepared. I beat it after using all 3 of my power-ups at once, and just spamming the attack button. Now, what I like about the designs is that these are all very beautiful. The arm kind of reminds me of the Big Daddy from BioShock, as well as the oxygen tank on his back. But each place has its own unique design. Like, this is the Hive, this is, quote, safe place, underground surgery, cellar, Count's mansion, roof sanctum, abandoned temple. Actually, I've never seen this guy before. He looks pretty cool. Bleak basement, misty forest, diabolic pentagram, and the asylum ward. I'm going to go back to the last level I was on. The most recent, at least. Level 64. Now, as you can see, the lower the level you go, it doesn't matter how high up a level you are. If you go back to the first level, each tooth would be worth one little tooth, instead of them being multiple teeth. And I'm going to show you an example of the upgrades. Now, as you can see here, let's just go to Flee. The first one would be increases critical click chance by 3. Next one would be increases damage by Flee by 125%. Increases damage of Flee by 125%. Increases critical hit damage multiplier by 5, and unlocks weak spot. So you don't want to be stingy in this game. If anything, you want to collect the teeth you need and instantly upgrade. At least that's how I play, because unless you want to go for a very, very fast, like, level up, there's no real chance, there's no real incentive of saving your teeth other than, well, making you, it takes a long time to kill these guys at higher levels. And with that, it gives you less teeth. So therefore, you're just saving up your teeth for no reason. And it's really odd that these enemies spew out teeth, but it's a horror type game. Now, I'm going to talk about the backgrounds. The backgrounds in this one, as you can obviously see, are very dirty, bloody, nasty, gross looking. They're very dark, covered with blood. Then the next one, not all of them are always filled with decomposing bodies and blood and gore and nastiness. Some are quite simply just a very interesting background to look at. It can kind of really, like, all of these backgrounds are very entertaining to look at. They're all very pleasing, they're all very nice. And that's what I really like, is that each one of them makes you just look in awe at them, because the design in these maps, I think, are very, like, steampunkish. Not steampunkish, but, like, some of them are, like, for example, not the Count's mansion, but this doesn't look like a cellar. The pipes and everything just makes it all look very steampunk. This is more of like a science fiction horror type of place. And this actually reminds me a lot of Alien for some reason. Because the big nest room, you know, very dark colors, the spine-looking floor. It is all very pleasing aesthetically to the eye. And I kind of like to think about this like Dark Souls, because in Dark Souls, you have to constantly trek back to the place you just were, and you have to level up there. And that's what I really like, is that you just don't instantly blaze through this entire game. It takes a little while to actually do this. Let's go on to the achievements. The achievements, I mean, there's quite a lot. Most of them are like clicking an X amount of times, or killing a boss this many times, stuff like that. You know, nothing really that interesting, but they're there. But other, like, finish level 160, 140, 120, 100, 50, 25, you know, all these different levels. And it actually really helps when it comes to, at least it's a really great game for completionists. Completionists love to get all these unlocks. And it'll actually be pretty fun to do it just so you can level up to this ridiculous amount and slay these bosses. Now actually, it doesn't matter where you click on the screen. So no matter what, you're always hitting it. I can be hitting the very top left and it will still count. Which I kind of find a little annoying in these type of games, like, because when you're doing a clicker game, you're supposed to be clicking the object, not clicking on some dude's big toe in the background, or someone's forearm, you know? You're supposed to be clicking on said object, not the surrounding area. But in some places, this can actually be helpful, like when you're going to collect teeth, like, for example, I'll show you, when you're collecting teeth and you want to keep on clicking while catching them. And I don't know what this illnesses bar is for. I think it might be for later on in the game, which I have not found use for. But here's one part that I don't exactly get. It's the equipment part. There's never been a drop for belts or anything. I don't know where to get this. Perhaps you get them if you buy them on the Steam, whatever, you know, the Steam market. But currently I have actually not even found a true place or any drop of any sort of clothes or article of anything. No weapon, no nothing. Which is kind of odd to have that there if you're just gonna make people pay for it. But I must admit, yes, it is a free game and they need to get some revenue somehow. And it's not like it's forcing you to buy anything. If anything, it's just letting you play the game like a cookie clicker, or a clicker game in general, and it doesn't shove anything in your face, it doesn't show you an ad before you click on. You know, it's just kind of lean back, like, play your game, you don't have to worry about anything. And I like that. So, the final score, I would probably say, in general, would most likely be 7 out of 10. Trust me, it's a great game to play, but there's not much depth in it because, yes, of course, it is a clicker, and I accept that. But at the same time, it can be a little monotonous to have to keep on going back to the previous level to see all the same old monsters you've been facing for at least 2 to 3 hours. But I must admit, there are a lot. And the character customization isn't really there. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, because in the end, you know, it doesn't really do much, I think, from what I see, because there's not anything to see. It would be nice if they had a system where at least every 1,000th or 2,000th enemy, it drops something you can equip, you know? Instead of teeth, it might have a little, like, hat drop out of there, or meat cleaver, you know, something you can equip on your character, so they're not just always hanging out in their underwear. You know, something to really add depth to the game. I don't know if it helps with, like, how fast you can click, or how many points you get, or how many teeth you get. But there should at least be something there, not just nothing. But what is nice about this game is that even if you do decide to click off the game, it still gives you things. Now, back to the final score of why it's 7 out of 10. Trust me, it's a great game. I have had a lot of fun playing it, but to me personally, it's a game that I'm not a big fan of. I mean, it's there for a time waster, and I get that's what these type of clicker games are, but once you get so rich, there's nothing else to buy. There's no replay value in it. There's none. Like, there is no, oh man, I'm gonna go back to that section, or man, that boss looked really cool, because once you hit a certain level, like, let's say I go back to level 20, because I think the design looks cool, the enemies give me barely anything, and the teeth, it's only like 11,000. So I'll just be picking up a lot of useless teeth and just seeing a still image of one boss with teeth pouring out of it. And there's no real reason to revisit levels unless you're like, it was only 2 to 3 levels ago. Because either than that, like I said, it's very useless to go there. Final thoughts on the game. The design of the enemies, the backgrounds are really great. It is fun to start bashing up your first waves of bosses and, you know, feel like you're empowering them and you're killing them and you're having fun. But after a little while, you start noticing the same old, and it kind of gets tiring. I'm pretty sure after, like, the 100th level, you'll restart the entire, you know, settings. Because I get it, they can't have infinite amount of settings. But once it starts getting repetitive, the game will get boring. But to me, it hasn't right now, but I know it will in the future. But to me, personally, it's kind of a game that I play when I have nothing else to do, or I'm doing something in the background. But that's it for today, my friends. This was the first ever frosTUnited gaming episode, and the first ever a cold look at Insanity Clicker. And I will see you all tomorrow, hopefully, or whenever I can do the nearest episode. And one last thing, stay frosty.